right, so this week in the DC universe, I did get a chance to read a few things. So the first thing on my list was Titans issue number 7. So they're continuing the Beast World storyline. And this week's issue was pretty fun. I even know like they did have a different artist that wasn't the biggest fan of the art compared to the previous work on there, and especially after Ivan Rice on Beast World itself. This was definitely kind of gave it that filler issue feel, but they still kind of tied up some loose stories like the Eternity stuff with the other Tamaranian. Like, luckily, I wasn't into that storyline, so it looks like they're kind of tying that up here. Basically, Starfire just wins, basically. And the whole thing with Nightwing having basically he got infected in the last issue, then Starfire shows up, and the little Gar spore, or whatever you want to call it, they always want to have the most powerful being. So obviously Starfire is more powerful than human Nightwing. So it hops into her, but she's just like, nope, I'm not going to be enslaved anymore. I spent a lot of my life in chains. I'm not doing that anymore. So he just bites the head off, doesn't sell the spore basically, and then cures Nightwing in the process. Oh, and then Tempest, he gets his spore removed in the process and in the fighting as well. So they wrap up kind of a lot here that was going in to the first story arc very hastily. So I'm kind of curious to see what that means going down the line, because I feel like they were going to spend a lot longer on some of those plot threads. Next up, I talked about Chip Zdarsky and meeting him at C2E2, so I wanted to make sure I got a chance to read this Batman run, because I thought he was an interesting writer for the project, since, you know, he has some big shoes to fill. James Tynion was on the book for a while. Of course, that's the book that Tom King started, so he gets to follow writers like that. And so far, I've only read 2 issues, and he starts off by shooting my boy Tim Drake. He gets shot on the job. I feel like Tim wouldn't be that sloppy, but anyway, we're not going to go into too much like that. Luckily, Jorge Jimenez is still on the book. He does a great job on the art, so hopefully I'll get a chance to get some stuff signed by him as well at C2E2. But there appears to be a new robot that looks sort of like Batman named Failsafe, and he is attacking the entire Batman family to the point in the end of issue 126. He's like, well, the only way I can beat this thing, because it predicts all of our moves, is just become very unpredictable. So he turns into the Batman of Zen R from, I think he has roots in the Silver Age. I just remember him from that Grant Morrison run, and that's kind of where I stopped reading the Grant Morrison run. So I'm going to try to push through in issue 127 so I can see what the rest of the run's like. Because he's been on there, like, he's still writing it up to issue 143. So I've heard interesting things so far about this Zdarsky run, so I'm curious to see where it's going. Talked about Tom King a second ago. Here's a couple Tom Kings coming up. The first of which is Wonder Woman number 5 with the wonderful art of Daniel Sampere. I hope they push this, you know, in wrestling terms, I hope they push this artist to the moon, because I think right now, currently, he's my favorite artist I've seen from DC for a while. Like, he did the Dark Crisis stuff, and now he's hopped on to the Wonder Woman title with Tom King. So I've really enjoyed the work on there so far. This issue, I feel like, is my favorite one of the Tom King arc so far, because you get to see, like, all of Wonder Woman's, basically her daughters. You know, Wonder Girl Donna Troy and Yara Flor, they're all trying to hop in and help Wonder Woman with her political problems that she's having, along with the rest of the Amazon. And basically, Diana doesn't want them to step in, so they basically handle things the Amazon way, and they each have to do like a physical challenge with Diana. So I believe Yara Flor does arrows, like Wonder Girl does an arm wrestling contest, and then Donna Troy, she knows she can't beat anything, you know, she can't beat Diana in any like physical competition, so she just challenges her basically to a game of injustice. So they sit down, play some video games, and, you know, somehow Wonder Woman wins everything. It's like, you're not going to get involved in my matters. And then the last page is just all 3 of her daughters in her apartment or wherever, her flat, wherever. And they're just like, yeah, we know you won. We're still not staying out of this. We're going to help you. So I thought that was a really cool issue. I definitely recommend Wonder Woman issue 5. I don't think I could recommend Power Girl issue 5, though. So I checked out Power Girl. I don't know why. It was like, it just hit today, Tuesday, on the Infinite part of the app. So I was curious. I like the Gary Frank cover. I'm like, is Streaky the Super Cat getting the cat's own issue? And yeah, you better believe this was just an issue of a cat flying around saving other animals and humans being translated into gibberish. So if you enjoy that, definitely go buy this book, because I know actually a few people who probably would. But if you're looking for an enthralling story that adds to whatever's going on in the Power Girl book, I still have no idea what's going on in her book. I just randomly decided to read this issue 5 while I was making dinner tonight, and I feel like I didn't miss much by skimming through it. But Streaky the Super Cat, glad it has a fan base. But my pick of the week that I read, although it's not like current as of this week, I decided to finally crack open, or via digital, of course, Human Target, Tom King, Greg Smallwood. I've heard nothing but great things from the few people who have checked out this book that I've heard about. Haven't heard a lot of buzz about it otherwise, but the people who have checked it out seem to have high praise on it. So I'm like, I'll check it out, because I feel like Tom King's biggest strength is in these like C-level characters that he has like that Black Label effect over, where he doesn't really need to stick to a continuity, but he can just kind of write it however he wants. And this one so far is no exception. Kind of like your Strange Adventures and your Mr. Miracle. I would put this in that tier so far. Where Chance, he wakes up, it's like 12 days after the main story, and he's been poisoned. He's dying in just a slum hotel room. And basically you go back 12 days, and that's where the first issue picks up. So basically you're trying to solve the crime of how Chance got poisoned and is dying. And he was protecting Lex Luthor. That's how he got poisoned to begin with, because he was supposed to be Lex, but he was really a guy doing his job. And luckily he has... who does he? Oh, yeah, he has Dr. Midnight is helping him out. So Dr. Midnight is, basically trying to figure out what's wrong with, our pal Chance here. And he figures out that he's been poisoned, but the type of poison traced back to the 80s Justice League. So I was looking at some of the covers coming up, and it looks like that each issue is going to be him basically paying a visit to these characters from the 80s Justice League. So it sounds like it's going to be a really cool ride getting to 12 issues. So I'm definitely going to go through this one probably after I get through reading, 8 Billion Genies that I talked about earlier in my live feed. So if you guys have any recommendations on what I should read next on the DC Universe app, definitely let me know. Human Target was one of those recommendations, and so far I'm very happy with that recommendation. So please leave it in the comments in the live chat here. Definitely let me know what I need to be reading next.